Welcome to the last Coleman webinar of the year. I can't believe, Kent, that 2015 is over.
Exciting year.
Kent Hoover is the Washington Bureau Chief of the Business Journals. He is Mr. Small Business. He's an excellent reporter. Google him and you can read all sorts of cool stuff. What's going on in Washington? Tell us about... Oh, by the way, Kent, I appreciate you joining us. I know Congress is adjourning soon and you're in the middle of that, so I appreciate you taking 10 minutes out of your day to join us.
Well, happy to be here. Yeah, this could be a big day for small businesses because this afternoon, hopefully, they're going to release the final details on the government spending plan and the tax extenders, these tax breaks that have expired but are routinely renewed but often aren't renewed until the last minute, so they don't do much good. The big one for small business, and this would, I think, would be really important for small business, is making the $500,000 expensing limit for Section 179, Section 179 expensing, making that permanent. Right now, it was $500,000 last year, but they didn't make it $500,000 until mid-December, so it didn't do anybody much good. It didn't provide much of an incentive for small businesses to go out and buy new equipment. Then it fell back to $25,000 on January 1st, and everybody expected, well, Congress will raise it back up. But again, here we are in December, and right now it's still $25,000. So if they make it $500,000 permanently, it would be a hell of a lot better and bigger incentive for small businesses to have the confidence to say, hey, buy this big piece of equipment. I can write it off all now instead of having to depreciate it over a bunch of years.
And you were talking about small business confidence. What are you seeing from your perch about how Main Street views the economy today?
Yeah, a lot of the surveys, like NFIB's survey was pretty sour, the latest one. And then some of the other surveys I've seen have been kind of down too. And even big business, the Business Roundtable's latest survey, the CEOs of America's largest corporations are a lot less confident about hiring and buying new equipment in the months ahead. There's a lot of nervousness about the economy.
Yeah.
Not so much that we're going into recession, but it's just like we kind of have petered. What little recovery we've had is just kind of like this is as good as it's going to get, maybe.
So we're not China yet.
We're not China yet, but that's having a problem with businesses that export. Weakness in China, weakness in Europe. The exports are down.
Yeah, that's fascinating. In terms, I've talked to several people. They're saying jobs are coming back to Main Street from China. That's interesting, and they're obviously going to Vietnam and other places. For those of you who are joining us, we start every Coleman webinar early. We talk to a newsmaker. We'll start at the top of the hour, but I'd love to talk to Kent Hoover of the Washington. I guess you're national, aren't you? You're the national editor?
I write for the chain of business journals around the country. Washington Business Journal. We've got business journals from Boston to Hawaii, so I cover Washington for them, what's going on in Congress and the federal government related to business.
Let's talk about SBA. David Vitter, the chairman of the Small Business Committee on the Senate side, lost his election for governor. Is he going to resign, or is he going to serve out his term, Ken?
He has announced that he's, not going to run for re-election. I don't think he's, going to resign, but he's basically is running out the clock on his congressional career. He hasn't really been very active on small business issues to begin with. I think he's had more hearings in Louisiana where he was running for governor than he's had in Washington. So there's a little bit of a vacuum that I don't know if a vacuum can become more vacuumized, but yeah, there is a little bit of a lack of leadership right now on the Small Business Committee and on the Senate side. And if staffers or the senator disagrees, hopefully they'll let me know and beg to differ. But
and SBA record numbers still seems to have the support.
Yeah, it's cranking along.
Support. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean they Congress raised their authorization limit, solved that temporary shutdown, and right now I just looked at the numbers today. They're ahead of where the 7A program is ahead of its record-setting levels from last year, and then the 504 program has kicked back up after a couple of really subpar years. So that's good to see, because they sort of had been in a slump and been counting on trying to get this refinancing program back into place, but I don't think Congress is going to do that. And so, but now at least they're doing the loans for commercial real estate that they were sort of created to do for job creating, projects.
Kent, we have bankers on for all throughout the country, and we're always hear horror stories from time to time of how Congress is going to do away with the SBA. It really has bipartisan support, doesn't it, for the SBA 70?
Yeah, it does, and I think I think the only danger in the last year or so to the SBA came from the battle over the Export-Import Bank, because a lot of the arguments against the Export-Import Bank is, well, the government shouldn't be involved in financing private sector businesses, the government shouldn't be picking winners and losers, and that kind of thing. And some of those arguments could be used against SBA, and it's a little different. You don't have big businesses like Boeing and Caterpillar sucking up most of the dollars in the SBA loan program. But as far as on the ideological front, a lot of those same arguments could apply, and the Ex-Im Bank ended up getting bipartisan support and even ended up in the House vote. When they finally had it on that discharge position, I believe the majority of Republicans voted in favor of reauthorizing it. So I think that whole issue has been put to rest.
Yeah,
for a while at least.
And I think it's always important to put things in context. And the context is there was going to be a shutdown back in August, but a Republican Congress said no, let's go ahead and bump it up and allow the money to flow to Main Street. Speaking of Main Street, Kent, if you did a survey of who we'd like as Americans, I think small business owners would rank right up there.
Yeah, they do.
And what do you see on the political front? Yeah, both parties want to be the party of small business. How does that play out?
Yeah, I think small business owners will look past the rhetoric because, like you say, they all say they want to be. Hillary Clinton says, "I want to be a small business president," and all the candidates will say that. But I think small businesses are more looking toward, okay, well, what specific policies are you going to favor? And will they help me or will they hurt me? And so, I think that's what small businesses are looking for.
Kent, what else? Go ahead.
Okay, go. No, as to who they're going to end up supporting, I mean, we've done non-scientific polls among our readers where any reader could answer, so it's not weighted, like it's supposed to be or whatever for a scientific poll. But early on, Trump was getting a lot of support from our readers. So, everybody thought that eventually the Trump fever would flame out, but it sure doesn't seem to be.
And if you're a political junkie like I know you and I are, it's fascinating to watch it. It's just it's who would have predicted where we are today.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something earlier as Congress is cramming to get out of town. There could be some news on the Go ahead.
National Labor Relations Board. Yeah. Again, we're waiting to see the details of this spending bills and the tax extenders bill. But the negotiations are running concurrently, so they're sort of related to each other. But as part of the spending bill, a lot of people are really pushing hard for a rider on it that would basically prevent the NLRB from enforcing its new joint employer rule, basically. And again, there's just been one case where it's been decided, and it wasn't about franchises, it's more about a staffing agency, but they're also pursuing a case against McDonald's franchises. Basically, that the implications are that a franchise and the franchising company could both be considered the employers of individuals, which would basically take a lot of power away from individual franchisees, open up fast food chains in particular to union organizing efforts. So that's something that the franchising industry in particular is really concerned about. So they're really pushing for, hey, just put, at least for 6 months, 9 months, a year, I think it's 9 months to the next end of the fiscal year, keep the status quo, don't apply this new joint employer ruling until things shake out.
And that has support of both parties, doesn't it? Well,
not so much on that one, because this really is as a pro-labor ruling that a lot of Democrats, want to see more unionized workers.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, very good. Let's see. I think we got everything on the list. Kent, I really appreciate your feedback. You're always insightful. Thank you for taking time out of your day to visit us. Thank you very much, Kent.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.